driving culture forward. This is HBR on the Hype Radio Network. Today I'm here with Erik and Peter of Sneakersnstuff, sneaker boutique, right? Started in Stockholm. You have stores now in London, Paris, Berlin, and the US. So what brings you guys to New York this time around?
We had a launch yesterday with Adidas for our latest project called the Datamosh 2.0. So it was fun.
There's always a reason to go to New York. I could go here every week, but I also gotta stay home every week. So
is home in Stockholm?
Home is in Stockholm.
Yeah. How often do you guys travel between your stores?
Not often enough, but
yeah.
I will agree to disagree. No, it goes both ways. We have a lot of office in Stockholm, so head office is there. So we need to spend a lot of time there to make sure that we are doing the right things and keeping track, and spend time with the team there. We do travel between the stores, but now with 5 stores and a 6th one coming up, there's always like the travel thing, like how you need to combine it. So right now we came here to visit with the New York team, hang out with the event and the party yesterday. And we're going to combine that with going to Boston with meeting with brands for next week. So there's always like, when you travel, the schedule is super intense.
Right, yeah. It sounds almost similar to our founder, Kevin, right? We're based in Hong Kong, and he spends a lot of his time there. But he tends to come out to our various satellite offices, New York, especially right now because of Hype Fest coming up. We have offices in Paris and London, et cetera. It's also because he wants to just be more a part of or within the culture itself. Do you guys feel like that's also a reason why you guys tend to travel more? Is it?
Of course. Like if you want to get inspired, you need to be where inspiration is.
Mm-hmm.
I can get inspired at home too. I can get inspired by things in my living room. But
right.
Like you need to change your environment. You need to see the world. And if we want to try to talk to the world and cater to the world, you need to sort of be there as well.
I like to travel back and forth to New York City even when I'm not working. So, actually my vacation I went to New York in July. So,
right now, you guys started founded Sneakersnstuff in 1999, right?
Actually, November '98, but
98. Okay.
Opened the store in '99.
Okay. But last time you guys were in New York for the launch of this store, we talked a little bit, and you guys were reminiscing about your sneaker safari days, in air quotes here. So can you guys explain that a little bit to me? Because I found that kind of like fascinating, especially within today's realm.
Yeah. Sorry.
So there's a dog in here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see it.
It's my dog, guys. He's totally just staring at them.
It's a stare down. No, but the way that was, I think, like, for one, you had to sort of understand that the world was different 25 years ago. It's not like it is now. You can just go to your cell phone and find whatever you need.
Right.
Then we sort of grew up falling in love with sneakers in general. Me from a sporting lens with basketball and all that. Peter from musical lens with hip hop. And then we started working in sporting goods stores because that's where you can find sneakers.
Right.
But sneakers as a lifestyle thing wasn't really a thing in mid or end 90s. That was you went to sporting goods stores. So we started working there and found each other in the mutual sort of passion for sneakers. So this is eons ago, and I can't really. We decided we wanted to go here to New York for like 2.5 weeks, I think.
Our first trip
long
together.
time, the first trip. Just looking for sneakers.
Were you guys buddies? Did you guys work together in a sporting goods business, or just kind of acquaintances?
Long story short, we met through work.
Yeah.
And we started to, we had this insane interest in sneakers. So there were not that many of us at the time.
Right.
So we decided when we had the time over, we went to Chicago, I think, first time.
We went to Chicago with work, so that was a thing. But we went here to sort of, we went here because a lot of inspiration, a lot of stuff sort of evolved from here. So we wanted to, when I grew up, I desperately wanted to move to the US. I wanted to go to college, play basketball, do all of that. So it was like a life dream to sort of be here. So we went here for vacation, and people knew that we were going. They knew that what we were doing. They knew that we wanted to buy shoes that wasn't available like in Europe. And they knew exactly that we knew what wasn't available in Europe. So people started asking us, like, hey, can you buy me a pair of shoes? Can you buy me a pair of shoes? And we said, yeah, fine. And eventually it became too many. So we said that, yeah, we're probably going to need to charge you like $20 for each shoe because it's going to be a lot of shoes here.
It's going to be a lot of walking.
Yeah, a lot of walking too. So how that usually went down is that we had a list of shoes. It wasn't a specific ask. The only thing that came back was always like, get me something that's not available here.
Oh, really?
So it was more...
Anything cool.
Oh, anything cool, yeah. It was more like a wish list and sizes.
And people trusted you. They knew that you knew what was cool.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So we had a list coming here and a stack of cash and an empty bag. And then we used to stay at the YMCA in Midtown, which was a terrible place to stay, with bunk beds and shared bathroom.
But nice price.
Really cheap.
Especially when you have 100 sneakers with you in a duffel bag.
And that was the trick. Like we didn't buy anything for the first 3 days. When we stayed at the YMCA, we didn't buy anything. We just walked around trying to understand where the best deals are and shoes we couldn't find anywhere else and stuff like that. And then for the last 3 days, we usually switched to Grand Union near Empire State. We stayed there a lot.
33rd Street.
Yeah, near Empire State, which was the cheapest hotel we can find that actually had a lock on the door that we sort of felt like, here we can leave some shoes. And then you walked around again the same and knew exactly where to go to sort of, I'm going to buy that. So we traveled a lot and walked a lot through Manhattan. We went down to Brooklyn, up to Harlem, and everywhere to sort of find shoes.
This was pre-Starbucks in Harlem.
Fair, yeah. Yeah, that's what I wanted to follow up with was, did anybody just see you? Did people just assume you guys were just tourists that were just buying like one-off sneakers, or were you going in and pulling out like, I need 5 of these or like 10 of these, and they're like, eventually
people started to sort of recognize us, but they were, we were, two skinny kids looking for an insane amount of sneakers.
Yeah.
And then I
remember we didn't really buy, like the first trips we didn't buy in bulk because it was, for us, like every shoe has its own sort of unique story. It's such a cliche thing to say today, but that's actually the background and the history of it. And we had a particular person in mind, and then we knew that there's a shoe for that person, so we picked that shoe for that person. So we didn't buy like, I want a size break of that. That's not why we went in the beginning. When we opened a store and we sort of learned that, a lot of women in Stockholm wanted Air Force Ones in various colors, and there was none available. So then we went here, bought size runs, and we went down to Brooklyn, tried to hustle for the best price in Fulton Street Mall. Went door to door, not realizing that it was all owned by the same person.
By Manny. like 16 doors at a time. All different names.
Trying to hustle and trying to do the coolest thing, be like street smart, but totally got played. Because they actually went to the safe stock room and picked it up eventually anyway. But it worked out. Like we did get a good deal. So classic win-win.
Are there any stores that you miss from that era?
Oh, all of them.
Yeah.
It's not the stores that I miss. I miss that era. You're always reminiscent, romanticize about that era. But
we got a few stories. After all these years, but I remember buying a pair of shoes in Brooklyn, like 3 days before the release date, coming back to Manhattan, and people were like, literally like, "Whoa, where you get those?" Like, yeah, it's in your city, like in New York.
Right.
It could be on the other side of the street, but people were still very local here.
Right.
If you're from Brooklyn, you don't go up to 125th Street to hunt for sneakers.
Oh, for sure.
But we were all over, like all city.
Yeah, anytime a friend of mine asks, I live in Brooklyn, and someone's like, hey, it's a Saturday, I'm going to have some drinks in Manhattan. It's like, sorry, I can't.
Nope.
Can't make that jump. Sorry, it's too far.
Yeah,
I'm already here in Brooklyn.
See you Monday.
Yes, exactly. So.
No, but you asked for a store that we're missing. I don't remember. I don't even know if that store had a name. But I was walking that way today. It was on 6th Avenue, right below like on 30th or 28th Street. There's still a flower section, like a flower shop section.
Oh, you mean you mean the guy with the bags and Nikes?
Yeah, exactly. And there,
we bought a bag from this guy and some gray zone imports.
Yeah.
No, not that guy. I'm talking about the mom and pop shop.
There
was that's the one thing I missed. Like all the hidden gems in mom and pop stores, where you can walk and just find stuff that you haven't seen for 10 years, and it's still there.
What I thought was really great when we were talking last year was how you guys were able to bring all that stuff back. You told
physically?
Me, yeah, you told me that. You guys told me that you knew that there was a certain box or a certain brand box that was easy, like more collapsible.
Nike was the best.
Nike's was easiest.
When they moved from that orange top box that had a gray, because that was glued, and they somebody, probably vice person, decided not to use any glue anymore, so it was all foldables. So you unfold the boxes and you take the shoes out. You put the shoes in a duffel bag, because that's a soft bag, so you can squeeze in shoes in there. And then you fold the boxes and you put them in a hard case, and you can stack a full hard case full of boxes.
And the tissue paper.
Yeah.
You guys it wasn't necessarily reselling. You guys were curating for your friends and family, because you guys were already traveling. We
were reselling, but in a different way. We weren't reselling to buy full retail and then jack up the price. We were fixing a glitch between geographical things, like brands worked super regional. So
like the fashion look at sneakers didn't really exist in Europe. Well, you guys had Foot Locker, you had a bunch of products over here that was.
But not only that, I think even from a sporting good lens, as Sweden is a very small market, and 25 years ago everything was run by sort of distribution or agents. And they needed to be efficient. So they're not going to buy and offer the stores 20 different colorways in one shoe. They're going to pick 2 colorways and they're going to go with that. And that's going to be a black shoe, it's going to be a white shoe. That's it. So when Scottie Pippen's wearing, all red shoes in All-Star game, you can't get that in Sweden in the 90s. So you had to go here to get colored shoes. Like it's not a weird thing if you think about it like that. But so we did resell, but for a completely different reason than today's resell.
The funny thing was that the white and the black, the triple white and triple blacks, they were always full price, while the colored ones or the two-tone ones, they were not as popular in the US. So we usually got them quite cheap, and then brought them home, and we could sell them for, resale, like retail price, but we bought them cheap, so we didn't really scam people. We were actually, as Erik said, we filled the glitch in the market.
What were the influences? Because I've heard you guys say that because it was a small city that.
In Stockholm, we were most of my friends did travel a lot to the UK, to London, so like the word sneakers wasn't really used in Sweden when we started out. Erik and I said it. We tried to sort of get people to say it, but it was all, they said trainers maybe, if they say something except for the Swedish word, gymnastikskor. So we really wanted to have the word sneakers in the store name, because sort of to educate kids about what we were selling.
So you guys were already thinking globally on that front?
I guess so.
You guys were already traveling the world,
we were pretty Americanized in our way of.
Yeah, I think we were super inspired by New York, so we really wanted to do a little piece of New York, but in Stockholm. That was we didn't think like that at the time, but you could tell looking at it. It was like, yeah, this is a piece of New York in a back street of Stockholm.
I remember Dr. J's and the Brooklyn stores and those stores, they had like the T-shirt with the 5 boroughs. So we did one with our borough in Stockholm that was like so popular. We sold thousands of it.
Really?
It was Södermalm, which is our part of Stockholm.
There's no one answer to this, right? I don't think anybody really has an answer to it. When you guys were doing it, it was about community. It was about educating. You were buying sneakers to help your friends, like to really bring this this culture back. Like, this is what we're excited about here. Nowadays, it is really just about the bottom line. You know, are there ways to like change this? I mean, as retailers, like what could be done really?
We're not mad at reselling. I mean, first of all, so it's like they're sort of, I guess, helping us a little bit, but
like it's not resellers. It's just a product of a demand that is so much greater than supply, and regardless on how you do that, like that, if you don't correct that, there will be that thing. It's essentially you're selling shoes, brand new shoes on launch date that you know the market value is 4 times higher. That's basically having an 80% sale every launch. So when we have an 80% sale, if we had an 80% sale, it would be mayhem as well. So you're creating that in a sense. I just think that it's a result of a time where people are, like the consumers, they're all digital. And the companies, the brands, they didn't really move that fast. So they don't understand how big
some do.
This market is now. Yeah, some do, but some don't. Like
most don't.
I don't even think that. I think that's the trick. Like nobody really understands how big it is. Everybody agrees that it's fast, it's growing, it's super explosive, but nobody really understands and knows what is the limit, how many pairs should be produced. Right. And everybody's worried to flood the market and just like put an end to it.
Right. I mean, today is the launch date of the 350 V2s, the triple whites. Yeah. And right? This guy.
I've seen that message so many times today.
But just before I looked a moment ago, there's still, all the sizes from 7 to 12 are still very much there. So they've, Adidas, it's possible, to meet that demand or to create enough for the demand, right? They've said, what is it, 1 million or 100 or 1.5 million pairs that they're producing. So
but is that really that much? Like the Concords, isn't that also producing like 1 million pairs each Christmas? Like variations of Concord, like it's 1 million. Like, I think the issue today is the numbers is so big. So you sort of throw them out there, and I was going to say kids, but people in general, like they don't understand what that means. So we can actually hear conversations like, oh, there's 30,000 pairs in Europe. And I see that number and personally know that there's a lot more than 30,000 pairs in Europe, but 30,000 pairs, and you see all the comments, which you shouldn't even look at to begin with, but my fault, I look at that. And they're like, oh, it's going to be flooded, And I just want to say, like, do you know how many people live in Europe? It's a lot more than 30,000.
Certainly.
Yeah, so even just take London as a city, it's like 12 million. I get it, not everybody want to buy that shoe, but even if just 1% in each city in entire Europe, there's a lot more people than 30,000. So I'm pretty sure that 1 million might be good. I think Adidas possibly should. I'm not sure why they decided to do it only in their own channels. Either they do it to try to measure it, but I'm not sure if that's a true measurement, because even if you do that, you're not going to understand and know who are the people that don't want to buy that shoe from Adidas. Because there's a lot of people that they want to buy it for the experience somewhere else. They want to buy it. I'm definitely like rooting for our team here now, but
they want to support their local store.
They want to support the local store, and they want to be part of that. So it's not just about the product all the time. It's a little bit about the experience. And queues, lines, that was part of the experience. It was fun for a minute. But now if you have a first come, first serve release, it's going to be the same 300 people in the line. Half of them are hired by someone. So it sort of stops there. And if you're like us and a lot of others like us, we rely on a tell a friend kind of marketing strategy.
Yeah.
They're not likely to tell a friend at all because they're all hired by this one guy. So it just ends there. So we go out of our way, and I think everybody else in our niche, we try to find other ways to make sure that it at least lands with somebody, like a real consumer at the end. But when resale price is way too high, I mean, even the person that didn't want to resell, they get a shoe, they win it, they're super happy. Then they see, oh wait, this is
Pay my
actually
school
what, like
for
this
this.
is like $1,200 now. I can't walk around in shoes for $1,200, and then they sell it. Like it's the opportunity makes the thief, so to speak. So I think like eventually everything will catch up. I'm curious to see what happens when it does, because now you have a lot of solid businesses that is based on resale that, you know, huge companies are investing in. It's like there's a lot of money involved. What happens when brands actually meet the demand or like come close to it? So resale value doesn't drive that business. On the other hand, is resale only driven by the high resale value, or is there a culture of people wanting, almost like baseball cards, like they want to trade, they want to have something, go buy that, and oh, I had that shoe, but I replaced that for this shoe. I don't know. Like I think there's a part of that culture that sits there too. All of that sneaker con and like all
Dunk
of those
exchange,
places.
yeah.
There's a lot of trading going on. It's not really necessarily just buying it to make money. They buy it because they wanted something else, but they couldn't get that, but they got this. Then they trade it. So there's a whole culture going on that I don't think brands ourselves, I don't think many people really understands how vibrant that is and how cool that could be if you really get involved with it. So to Peter's point, we don't mind resellers per se. We're not a fan of organized reselling. We're not a fan of one person hiring 40 people to stand in line and then like laundering cash. Like that's causing issues.
Right.
So that we had to find another way to sort of solve that. But if the end consumer buys a pair of shoes and we're doing whatever we can to make sure that it's like a proper consumer, then it's not our place to say you can't sell that to anyone. You need to wear that out straight away. That's not
I would
fair.
do the exact same as these kids. You know, if we had opportunity 25 years ago and there was this type of market,
Right.
Yeah,
we probably
that's
would have
only
done
the
the same
result
thing.
of
So
what it
we
is.
can't really blame the kids.
Yeah,
Blame someone
absolutely.
else.
You mentioned with the Yeezys, right? That Adidas is trying to go through like their own channels. There has been a push within the footwear, sportswear industry to go direct to consumer, and or focusing more on boutiques and specialty shops and so forth, like yourselves. Have you guys noticed any bit of change in that, in the conversation between you and brands on that front?
Of course, we
This is such a minefield. Be
yeah.
careful where you put your foot down.
I'm not going to drop numbers, but I can. Okay, let's put it this way: the first Yeezy, Adidas Yeezy that came out, we got 11 pairs. We did get more than 11 last week. Let's put it that way.
No, I think brands are realizing that, and that was my point. I'm curious, and I haven't really fully understand why Adidas choose to go in their own channels. I'm guessing part of it is to make sure to sort of try to understand what's the demand. But I think brands are understanding that they need the validation as well. Like they can create stuff, but they need outside validation, and that will come from the passionate crew. And definitely looking at ourselves, but there's a lot of good retail stores, a lot of good culture bears like that took part of building this. And I think brands are now realizing a little bit more now than they did like 5 years ago that it's needed for them. They need the validation for that. So we definitely see a change and a big change in attitude. Besides, they need us to create a lot of content. They can't create all that content themselves. Like that's too much for
That's why
them.
you guys are here as well.
Yeah.
You already know.
I guess.
The content creators. So one of the, I imagine one of those, the change in the conversation, the change in the dialogue is what the Consortium is about, correct? So can you guys tell me a little bit about?
I mean, Consortium, it's a thing that Adidas started many moons ago.
Yeah.
Where they gathered a few of their sort of, in their eyes, best sneaker stores in the world, and they went, as they put it, they have like the respect is mutual. So they respect us, we respect them. They let us work on products, and they sort of help us by the fact that we can do a shoe, co-brand a shoe. and we help them by validating that their products are good. So Consortium is.
I think it's also part of a longer mindset. Consortium started as some sort of attempt. It was called that sort of business units we called Friends of the Family at first.
Friends of the Adidas.
Yeah, so it was like Friends of the Family that they curated and created as an assortment that wasn't available in the regular channels, and then invited a few stores to at that time in London. It's like you could, and that was such a refreshing approach, because we've been fighting to get unique product, and we're trying to we went here to get it, we went everywhere to sort of get unique product into our store, and all of a sudden they invited us to a showroom in UK. It's just like, yeah, here's like 25 styles you've never seen before, you want to pick and choose?
Did like your eyes just like jump out?
Yeah, it was like a kid in a candy store.
We totally overdid it as well. I think we bought 50% of all products for Europe. They were like, okay, it's quite a lot. Of course, we were like kids in the candy store.
Yeah, but it totally worked out too. So like that was a great move, and then that rolled into Consortium. But I think that Friends of the Family kind of thing sort of sticks. They had a Consortium team has always been very grassroots, and they picked grassroots partners, and we connect over product or projects. Now I think Consortium is moving in, and Adidas as a whole, like Adidas has had a ride for the past 3 years that's been, I guess, crazy in all aspects. So now everything is moving into some sort of like business units, and like there's different change of strategies and motives. Consortium is still there. Adidas statement is still there, but they're moving the focus, and it's not always super clear on why and what they want and what is the next. And now everybody's looking for the next NMD, and next, like, what's the next boost? What is the next trend? What is the next?
I mean, what made them strong 3 years ago, I guess, was this sort of connection to the retailers. They let people from, maybe not a focus city, like it could be someone from the middle of nowhere in the south of Italy to make a collab. It's a good store, so people know that it's a good store. They come up with something nice. Or someone in the south of, in the middle of nowhere in the US.
It's a matter of trusting these stores, because these stores know their consumers better than anybody else. Adidas is not going to know the guys, like you said, in the south of Italy.
No, and I'm pretty sure, I speak for all the Consortium team sort of members, like store members, that everybody's super proud to be part of it.
Yeah.
Like, you have something that no one else got.
You guys have done collabs, for a long time. I mean, since the.
I think the first one we dropped was 2003.
Yeah, that's
15 years. I mean, how they come about, it all varies. The design process all varies. But I'm always curious if, what are some of the common roadblocks that you guys run into when, in collaborating with these brands on footwear?
Material choices, colors, styles.
Yeah.
It's always different from brand to brand.
Yeah.
From time to time. Sometimes it's a focus.
And also, like, sometimes it's a strategy call for the brand that they want to go in a certain direction, and we don't really feel that direction, and there's no other option. It's like, so lately we've been passing up on a lot of collaborations with a lot of brands because they're not catching where we're going.
10 years ago, when everyone said, like, you want to do, anything? We were like, yes. Now, when they ask us, we're like, no, we're not feeling it.
Right.
So we're a little bit more picky nowadays.
To pivot a little bit, earlier this summer, there was a big announcement from your brand, FSN, correct?
FSN, yeah.
Yeah. So this has been a huge trend in just the streetwear industry as a whole. A lot of people are seeing how lucrative it is, whether it be sneaker culture or, fashion brands. Would you mind clearing up some of the confusion that might have happened around there?
I would say,
do it live.
Like when that happened, the reason why we sort of pushed back a little bit on the whole communication was that, so in Sweden, we're based in Sweden, right? Everything is public. So once you file for something, it becomes public, so everybody can look into that and make their own assumptions. And to go way back, we opened in '99, right? We always wanted to expand. At some point, we had about 5 stores across Sweden. We realized that Sneakers and Stuff was not a small city concept. Like, we needed a big city to make that work, but we still wanted to expand. But we didn't really know how to do that. So in 2011, we took into partners David and Jansson.
Also, we were a little bit stuck in. It was like we got to this certain level, we couldn't take the next step without having someone.
We were stuck also we were stuck in a dynamic that didn't really, couldn't move further, sort of.
Couldn't afford to.
Right.
It was like,
which is kind of like, if you look at it from a straight sort of business perspective, there's a threshold in sort of every business that if you want to surpass that, there's a couple of steps that you need. You can push it and squeeze it a little bit, but if you really want to be growing at a sustainable sort of level, you need to do a couple of things in there, and that's not as easy as just getting to that level. So for us, we brought in 2 partners, David and Jansson. David was the founder of Swedish skate lifestyle brand VSC, together with other partners, obviously. And they moved that from being a local Swedish brand to a global brand. I wouldn't say that I'm super impressed by the position of VSC today, but he left the company around 2009 when it was sort of at a peak, and jumped.
They took it to the Swedish stock exchange.
Yeah, so he had a good track record of building that, and Jansson was one of the early, sort of representing early investors in VSC back in the days. So we sat down and asked, like, so what do we do now? What do you want to do? They asked us, what do you want to do? And both of us said, well, we want to be globally recognized. Is probably what it is. Like, from a straight egotistical point of view,
and
you just want to belong and you just want to be recognized.
When you say egotistical, do you mean it's because where you guys just like, we just know our shit?
I mean,
we were the best store in the world.
We were exactly. We were everybody that traveled the world. Like, we have the people from, there's a lot of people that travel a lot in Stockholm. People from H&M, people from Acne, people from, all these, like, the music industry, and they go to LA, they go to London, they go to New York, they go to Tokyo, and then they come back to this back street of Stockholm and say, you guys you're still the best sneaker store in the world, but you're in a back street of Stockholm. Right. So you need to be somewhere else. And we understood that we're pretty good. And, according to others, we were the best. Thanks, Russ Bengtsson.
According to us, we were the best too. Very un-Swedish thing to say. I think we knew that we wanted to grow, we wanted to expand. So we sat down and then we agreed on, all right, let's do 3 things. Let's grow internationally, let's grow online, and let's create our own brand. And we set sail. We actually wanted to open in New York as a first step, but it was a little bit easier. It was far from easy, I'll say, to open in London, which is still within the EU, so it was easier for us to just move product. But it took us about 3 years to get there, not to find a space and open it, but to build organization and build support and understand what we needed to do that. So we started growing online right away. That was already, the groundwork for that was already done. And then we opened in London, and then that immediately worked and gave us sort of confidence to go to Paris and do the same thing. When we went to the brands and told them, like, we want to go to London and open a store, they're all like, yeah, we don't know anyone there. Like, because we worked with the Swedish part of the brand. They had no jurisdiction in London. They had no power there. Yeah. So it was a very long conversation. But once we established that in London, it was a lot easier to do it in Paris, and people loved what we did in London. A lot of pushbacks from local players in the beginning. After a year, they all came back. It's like, wow, we love that you came here. You made me better. You made the whole marketplace better. And that was the
elevated the marketplace.
We elevated the marketplace. Very PowerPoint word. So eventually, you start doing that. And me and Peter, coming straight from the streets to start this. You grow up, you get kids, you don't really want all your eggs in one basket. It's kind of a very easy choice to make, to bring in, if the opportunity is there, to bring in, we had a private equity fund coming in 2015, And there was, I would say, two reasons to that. One, it actually took some pressure off of us from a personal standpoint.
Paris
we
stores
got a little bit
expensive
paid.
as well.
Yeah. But like we actually got paid for all the hard work that we had done and secured a little bit of money that I'm like, it's not going to last a lifetime, but it was symbolic for us to sort of like, wow, we actually made it. And like we could actually go home to our wives and say, you know what, sorry for not being here all the time, but look where we are now.
Yeah, right.
So it made a difference. And we also needed that PE fund to bring in organization and structure, because they've done this before with other industries and they have the experience. That's why you sort of go to a PE fund. But as I say, and then what happened in June, the reason why you started this conversation is that Cedar Capital, who was the PE fund that came in 2015, they all like work in brackets, and they sort of reached the end of their term and saw like a really good return on their investment. So they went out and initiated that round. And then we looked, and we actually met over 40 different investment funds, and most of them were not really understanding what we wanted to do. And we really shied away from them and like, whoa, this is terrible. Like, and even we met with industry players, and that's even more scary because you would end up getting sucked up in their organization and just be them all of a sudden, and that's going to ruin everything we worked for too. So eventually landed with FSN because they supported the vision and the idea, and they also provide the organizational capabilities. They have an international network. They will help us expand into Asia. They will help us expand now into LA and on. So that's the main reason why you do it. Sure, again, we secured a little bit of money. What was the reason why we pushed back? It was a couple of things. One, as I said, everything is an open filing in Sweden. So what happened was when we did this transaction, we collectively started a holding company that then took ownership entirely of SNS. So on paper, me and Peter sold everything to the holding company, which we bought shares in for the money that we got for selling. So we didn't really sell, we just moved the ownership to that. But if you just look at that from like a pure, from the book's perspective, it looks like we sold everything. And then the reporter was a Swedish dude. He called and it's like very super nosy, and like I was not comfortable with this because it's very new. We don't, switch PE funds every day. This is a big thing, and some pressure. So I wasn't really comfortable talking to him too much about it. But I confirmed a few things that we agreed, like everybody involved agreed, like this is what we will say. And one of the things that we didn't want to say was the evaluation, because that's sort of like it's almost the same as we spoke about the numbers. Like people don't really understand the relationship with that number, what that means, and what that means to us personally, what that means to what does it mean? So we didn't want to talk about that number because it felt so high. And then he just winged it and put the number to it anyway. And that got translated and got circled around and ended up with you guys and everybody else. And it was like, that's really not what we wanted. Right. Now there's a little bit more distance to it. I think with the evaluation, he said it was 57. It was actually 95, so that bugged me a little bit that like he actually sucker punched us on the evaluation.
Put some respect on it. Yeah, put some respect on it.
Yeah, exactly. I was, damn it, give me my credit. And the other thing was that we didn't really sell that much. I sold like a couple of percentage, that was it. Because I believe that we have a great future. So why would I collect that much money to sit on that? There's no better company for me to invest that money in. So I reinvested most of my money right back into it. So there's the reason why there's a lot of taboo around the conversation about investments. Yeah. The supreme thing, like people are dreading the comments. Ooh, they're selling out. They're gonna lose their shit. Like, I don't think so. I think it's a new wave right now. I definitely see there are investment funds out there that just want to suck things out and make them super efficient and just wash away all the passion out of their company to make it super lucrative or whatever. But I also see a different type of industry right now. And previously today or yesterday, I talked about the coffee example where like Starbucks started as a super passionate coffee maker, right? Probably the best coffee in Seattle, and just went for something, and along the way it became a business. And this is in my opinion, and sorry Starbucks if I offend you, but they lost the passion for coffee. It's disgusting coffee. Like, it's terrible. Like, it's airport coffee all over the world, and I don't understand it. But if you look at here in New York, you see coffee shops like La Colombe, you see Blue Bottle, you see, I don't know their situation. I'm pretty sure they have investment, and I'm pretty sure they have smart investors that actually see that, well, here's a business opportunity. You have people investing in Flight Club. You have people investing in Stadium Goods. They don't invest in that to ruin that and make that, a crappy destination. They invest in that because that's the new wave. All the retail money that was invested into malls, with all the malls dying and retail is dying, where is that money going? It has to go to something good. So I would say that the investment industry is actually following the consumers. That the consumers will reward what's good, and their investment companies will follow.
Going back to some of your other stores, how important is it to find managers or people that are running your store that know those consumers, right?
But I think it's super crucial to find the right people. And like, it's saying that, it sounds so dumb to even say it. It's obviously super important. I think but it couldn't be said enough, and that's actually aligned with the whole conversation about investments, because an investor will come in and understand how to build an organization from a structural and from a process point of view. Like, they would not force you, but advise you to hire a logistics manager, hire all that to make sure that you have some stability in this mess that is now increasing. But you need to be cautious when you grow. If you don't invest in the culture, and I'm not talking about sneaker culture, but in your company culture, that we didn't write any manifest or this is what SNS is about. But it's super important that we bring in the people that we feel matches that and adds on to that and takes that to the next level. And that's where someone like Will comes in, or Danny, who's here in the room with us, somebody that we knew along the way, and we sort of connected over certain things, and we see that as the perfect ad. And you can look at pretty much anyone in our team, and that's how we pick them. Then when you grow, you sort of understand that, all right, we're going to handle X amount of 1,000 pairs, 12,000 pairs of shoes that has to come in and go out in 3 days. You can't do that just liking sneakers. You need some certain organizational skills as well.
Right.
But I think the stronger the company culture you have, it's easier to attract both talents and people that are talented, but loving the culture, but also really good at something.
I mean, if you come to our office in Stockholm, it's
we have a lot of dogs.
Yeah, we got more dogs than you guys got.
Yeah, we have a lot of dogs.
Totally there. Yeah, absolutely.
So, but it's very funny and very inspiring to come to that office, because we got people from, all over the world, from Brazil to Russia to the US, UK, France. Who am I forgetting?
You're forgetting the dog breeds.
Yeah, there's really nice to come to work, and everybody that go to work, I think they're getting inspired. They have people that so we rarely speak Swedish at the office. It's all a mishmash of different languages.
I kind of sense it's the same kind of vibe here coming in here. So Hype is fairly big right now, right? It's a sizable company, from a company perspective. I'm not sure what your investment situation is, but I'm pretty sure you have investors as well. Mm-hmm. But it's important to your investors, to everyone in this room, to sort of maintain the culture. So you almost go out of your way to not make this too corporate, right?
Right.
It's the same thing. You want to not be corporate. You just don't want to mess this up. We built this over 20 years of time. You just don't want to bring and just wash everything of that away. You need to protect that.
I don't know if you guys were supposed to, but you mentioned an LA store. Did you guys actually make that announcement?
No, we're doing it now.
Doing it now? Yeah. See,
you slid that in. We set a date?
Slid that in there.
Yeah, we confirm a date. No, that's very risky. It's the late fall. Yeah.
End of the year.
Okay.
Yeah. No, LA, late fall, coming soon.
Really?
Woo-hoo. Let's all pack our bathing shorts and
It's gonna be fun.
Are you guys? Do you guys know whereabouts in LA?
We're pretty sure we.
Yeah,
pretty sure. We know
oh yeah,
exactly.
okay. I hope so.
No, we're gonna be on the beach. We're gonna
Okay.
be beachfront in Venice.
Really?
So that's super exciting, actually.
Why go to LA and not go to the beach?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So we're gonna be next to medical weed and fake T-shirts, which is gonna be awesome. And there's gonna be a lot of people sleeping outside the stores, not queuing.
Right.
And we're gonna have to deal with that and maintain not maintain that sounds weird to say, but like we're now gonna be part of that community, right? So we're gonna take care of that and
So
help
Venice
out.
Beach, here we come.
Yeah, we're gonna be in Venice Beach.
That's super exciting.
We're saying late fall. In Sweden, that means smack middle of the winter, but like
Yeah, I don't know if LA really has a fall. Do they?
no, it's
Yeah, I don't
there's no exactly.
just summer
Yeah,
all the
It's
time.
gonna be summer.
One of the reasons why we're going there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we're super excited. It's the first time we open in a warm city, like
Right.
all year warm city. So there's gonna be a lot of people that want to do stock take in the LA store when that happens.
What would your interpretation be of LA sneaker culture?
You'll see.
Just okay.
I think like
Stay tuned.
obviously the weather has an effect, right?
Right.
So you don't really sell puffer down jackets too much in LA from an apparel standpoint, and you tend to wear more summer casual because it's always summer, right? So, but that said, from a like a trend culture, hype culture, like that perspective, it's the same trigger points everywhere. So we can sell summer shoes in the middle of the winter in Stockholm. People just line up for that anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
I don't think we're gonna change, sneakers and stuff for LA.
Right.
We're gonna bring LA to sneaker stuff to LA, and the way we do it.
For sure.
Hopefully we can bring some of LA to the rest of the
Yes,
sneaker stuff.
that would be fun.
Work better for us.
Bring some sandbag. To kind of go off off topic a little bit. I think next week will be the 1 year anniversary of Gary Barnett's passing.
Yes.
Huge figure in sneaker culture. I imagine you guys were acquaintances or friends of him, correct?
Yeah, we're friend. Mubi, our guy, was a really good friend of him.
Yeah.
We're good mates as well. We're actually doing a thing for him, and together with a bunch of his old colleagues and friends. So there's a little Gary thing going on next Thursday in our store in London.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like very, very sort of reminiscing, like looking at old pictures. It's gonna be very nice.
Do you have a story of him that can kind of sum him up for some of the people that don't know? We posted about a Reebok sneaker that's coming out, friends and family, to celebrate Gary, and even one or two of the comments are like, that logo's silly. Why don't you guys take that logo off? Like, they don't understand that this is like a tribute sneaker. So a lot of people, I think, still don't understand who he was and what he did.
First of all, he sort of looked like a Moomin almost.
Yeah.
So, but I know for a fact, Gary told me once that he loved the Moomins, and Moomin is a Finnish character, like cartoons. That was actually in Swedish, the original sort of series.
Okay.
Because the Finns have a bunch of Swedes as well, made by a woman called Tove Jansson. So the books that she made was the books that Gary, who liked to read a lot, who liked to, the book that got him into reading was The Moomins.
Oh, wow.
So there's more than just a logo.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think like there's a lot of personal connections for the sort of tribute night or whatever you want to call it on Thursday. That's a lot of personal, and that shoe comes from personal connections. It's not made for Hypebeast. Like it's made for Gary. So Gary was a special soul, and I guess you say that you don't miss someone really until they're gone, right? So I remember when we used to go to London and we visited the Crooked Tongue office. and the guys there just, you know, when they are shooting the shit, they're shooting the shit. Like it's just fire back forth all over the place.
Yeah.
And he had a way around him, like, or that whole clique, I would say, had a way around him of actually making people, at least for myself, like feel welcome. So, like, I knew Gary. I consider him a friend. I wasn't in his closest circle. I wasn't his best mate and stuff like that. But he always made me feel like that when I met him, and he always made me part of the crew when we were there. So, it's truly a missed soul for sure.
And he was. You know, people like to say that he knew everything. What he didn't know, he wanted to know. So he was always willing to learn. Like, he loved stories about different markets or different whatever it was. It could be, you know, everything from music to the history of a hoodie. Like, he got so much knowledge in his you know, and the knowledge that he didn't have, he sort of looked up.
He seeked it, yeah. Yeah, no, I hear a lot of that same stuff too. I didn't know Gary personally. I've read a lot of his stuff, especially like growing up on the internet's upstate. Like, it's kind of all we had.
I met Gary through Crooked Tongues.
Yeah.
I was Dimension 6, by the way, on Crooked Tongues. And Gary was G-War.
Yep.
So, yeah, we knew each other for a few years, you know, online friends before we got proper friends.
Yeah, that's definitely how. That sounds very much like the Hypebeast forums. A lot of people started friends there, and you know, before they had brands. And the last one I want to bring up, because Erik, I think it was on your Instagram, and I need to speak this into existence, is that you posted a picture of the Tailwind 4s. And you're wondering why Nike hasn't brought those back. I totally agree. It's one of my favorite Air Maxes. I miss those. Someone stole them from my gym locker. No, it was you, Corey.
Damn it, Corey.
They were the black and red ones, but
Yeah, Corey.
Yeah, but is there a pair that you guys are like waiting to kind of like, man, I wish, just like
a
even
specific shoe.
Yeah, or
Yeah, I think like the Tailwind 4 and the tail, like when we opened.
Yeah.
I think when I posted that shoe,
that was big business for us.
Yeah, it was like a little bit. I'm not sure what the mindset was. I was on medication. No, I wasn't. But I posted it because I was like thinking about when we opened, and when we opened, that was launched and released.
Yeah.
And alongside with that, there was a Tailwind 2 Nubuck, amazing shoe. I wish they brought that back. But
I got so many of those.
There was a bunch of shoes that came out like through that era that they just made new shoes quarterly. And just made new shoes, and they made them for running. They made them for a purpose.
Right.
And I guess I reminisce more of that, and that's where you say the React shoe, like it's that thing of a newness. It's like, wow, they invented that. Oh wow, now they have like this bridge is glowing. It's like they trick you into buying a new pair every quarter.
For sure.
Now it's all colors.
Can I say what you want to bring back?
The Grudge.
Yeah, I mean the Grudge, of course, but I mean it was a super cheap shoe.
Yeah, that was a cheap shoe.
But
not gonna be $40 when it comes back.
No, that's one of the shoes. But I think my shoe that I really, really liked a lot, that I actually bought here in New York on Nike Town at the golf section, was an Air Max 97 type of shoe.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Air Sentry.
Air Sentry.
Had like a golf upper.
Okay.
That's a very grown-up shoe, though.
Yeah, very grown up. I'm a grown up. 46 next Saturday.
Happy birthday.
They came out in 3 colorways. I got them all.
Yeah.
They have like an airliner, and there was an Air Max 97 bottom. And it's so, right now, you know, if they would release that today, it would be super good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So do that.
No, but definitely, I would love Tailwind 4.
Air Sentry.
Tailwind 4 is a great shoe. But there's a bunch of shoes in that era, and I wish we could sort of come back to that, where, you know, now it's all like it has to follow a certain pattern, it needs to be there, and then it's going to be huge and big. But so I miss that day. I miss the shoe that not the deluxe, but that Air Max, whatever that is, 99. The one that Skepta wanted to do with the bronze kind of tail.
That's back, right? No, it's not.
No, it's not that
It
particular
looks like an
shoe.
Air Max Deluxe, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it had like the dotted line. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think like
And like so, yeah, there was a bunch of shoes
Yeah.
that sort of
around
came
that era.
out.
Yeah, for sure.
95 to 2001, almost
But
like.
I remember one of those trips we went to New York, and Nike and Foot Locker introduced the tune there, like Air Max Plus.
Mm-hmm.
The very first colorway, you saw it all over Manhattan.
Oh,
like
yeah.
everyone wore them. And Eric and I was like, we didn't have at the time. We had I think one Foot Locker in Stockholm, but we didn't want to go there. So we.
No fans of that store.
No, they were not that nice. They had like buffalo shoes in there. Really weird. So.
We're not holding a grudge.
No,
We still haven't been there. So.
no.
Not bitter at all.
No. Anyway, we searched for that shoe so much. Like
Yeah.
we really wanted it. We needed it. Like it was the latest Nike.
Absolutely.
And it was apparently owned and sort of made it together with Foot Locker. The tuned our
They own the
thing
tune,
was
yeah.
owned. It was like we were like, okay, so we have to go to Foot Locker to get this shoe. And at the time there was a Foot Locker on Union Square. All the other I'm pretty sure we went to every single Foot Locker in New York City. The one in Union Square, they were like, yeah, we're gonna get a box of them like after noon or something, because they were sold out everywhere. But everybody wore them. It was me, Eric, and like 2 other dudes, I think. The shoes came in, we bought them, left the box, walked out like you always did. Like that I miss, when people actually buy the shoe on release day and then wear them like instantly. That was a nice moment in sneaker
And also,
history.
sorry, I'm drifting off here, but George, if you're listening, I said Galaxy 3, not Galaxy 2. Galaxy 3, George. Damn it.
That's Adidas Consortium.
All right. Do you guys have? That was fantastic. But do you guys have any last minute words or? Other than being on the lookout for Sneakers and Stuff LA.
Marketing girls here, they're saying something.
She wanted us to talk about the bar.
Oh yeah, we got a bar coming up.
Bar, but we don't
In New
really
York,
know
no?
what, like. So we have a bar in the basement in New York, right?
When
and
you guys were opening, it was
Yes.
Yeah.
wasn't even
local
touched
act.
barely. Yeah.
And then it turns out, like, ironically, the store is doing better than anticipated, so we needed more stock space.
Oh, okay.
So we have a lot of shoes in the bar right now that's holding up the opening of the actual bar. So, like, we're gonna open the bar, but it's probably gonna be a couple of months because we need to find a location close by, and we're hoping to get a space close, so we can actually, not change the whole logistic system to sort of serve the store.
It's not a
So
bad
yeah,
problem to
there will
have,
be a
though.
bar, but maybe we can come back for another podcast, talk about the bar.
There you guys have it. Look out for the bar, the Sneakers and Stuff bar opening in New York very soon.
We don't know if it's going to be called the bar, but
Yeah,
it might
I mean,
be the stock room. We don't know.
No,
Wow,
we
actually, I kinda
actually
like
know
that.
because
I kinda
they came
dig
with the
that.
liquor license, so we know it's going to be called SNS Bar.
SS bar.
Yeah,
Gainsborough Street.
can't change that. Sorry,
Sorry,
liquor
there.
license deals are tricky.
And SNS LA later this fall, or
That's going to be called SNS.
Okay, there you go.
Sneakersnstuff, Los Angeles, Venice Beach.
Boom.
Venice.
Very close to the skate. And have you seen White Man Can Jump?
Have I seen White Man Can Jump? I
Very
watched
close
it
to
like
that
2 weeks
court.
ago.
Very
Yes.
close to that court.
Shit. Damn. That's
Like
iconic.
young kids might not have seen that.
Your mother's
good
an
movie.
astronaut. I don't know if you guys remember that quote. It's one of my favorites. Anyways, Eric, Peter, thank you. Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Guys, be on the lookout. SNS LA opening up soon. The New York bar is opening up soon. They got a ton of collabs coming. And
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We're going
Don't-
to celebrate 20 years next year.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
But
snap.
that's going to be a separate podcast as well.
That's
we can
a
do
new-
that in
new-
the bar,
no.
and we're gonna. So yeah, we got tons of stuff. Can we be permanent guests? Can we take over this?
Totally.
podcast? Yeah.
Yes. The amount of love you're showing for my dog, you guys can come by anytime.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Arnie-
bring this dog
Arnie
back
totally
home.
digs you.
Sandrine brings you chocolate.
Boom. All right, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Peace.